Okay, welcome back, gentlemen. So, I was made aware that there is another free to play game which involves drawing lines on maps. And this is that game. It's Lines of Battle. It is a Napoleonic tactical war game, or at least it was. From what I understand, is that the game has expanded in scope. But for all intents and purposes for this video, it's a Napoleonic tactics war game. Um, it's a little bit more well, no, it's very much more tactical than War of Dots. Compared to War of Dots, this game is almost purely tactics. It's about 95% tactics. You have the ability to make your own army compositions and all that kind of stuff. You have that element to it. But other than that, it's just tactics. Um, Obviously, it is far superior in this realm because it just focuses on that compared to War of Dots. War of Dots, however, does have the slight advantage in terms of it has the strategic layer, and it also every now and then, depending on the matches you play in War of Dots, you have this kind of blur where you can see there's like an operational level to the game. But I digress a little bit. We're here to talk about this game. So I I know enough about the mechanics. I have a lot of experience with tabletop war games, so we're just gonna go off of that. We'll go over army compositions first. How about that? So I can't remember what the names were for the players. Oh no, we have them. Samavir, that is blue player here in the south, and in the north, red player is Fooper 899. Those are our combatants today. Compared to War of Dots, it's very easy to get line of battles replays because it's all recorded by the server, and the players on the Discord they can just link the whole battle replay, and I can download the replay just straight off from the website as well. So like, yeah, it's a much more well polished replay system than what we have in War of Dots, and I like that. I like that. It makes it very easy. Now it's a it's a turn based game. Well, not entirely a turn based game. It's a what's it called, a WeGo system or something like that. Both players plan their turns simultaneously, and then the game executes them simultaneously. So that's what we have going on here. And unlike in War of Dots, there's a limited amount of time to the game. As you can see at the top here, there's only a certain amount of turns that is allowed in the game, and the tiebreaker for at the end of the matches is these victory points stuff here. I think it also counts destruction of enemy units. I could be a little bit wrong on that. I didn't quite take. I didn't pay too much attention to the proper win conditions. For most of the battles that I've seen, it usually just comes down to the other win condition of just wiping out your opponent from off the field. So there's that. But yeah, we'll go army compositions first. So it is in this match at least an asymmetric battle. So we'll go over Red's army comp because it's very interesting. They have a very, very heavy cavalry build. These units here on the front, these are called lancers. Yeah, so there's a lot of like units compared to War of Dots. War of Dots, you only have like 4 units, and even then, it's only like two really. You have lights and heavies, and then you have the naval counterparts of the lights and heavies. No, in Lines of Battle, you have a lot of variation in almost all the units, really. So for the cavalry alone, I think there's like five, six different subunit types. And the ones here that we're looking at are called lancers. And these are basically your shock cavalry. So for those who don't know, the meaning behind shock is that it's the assault troop. This is the troop that you send in to hit the enemy head on in melee attacks. And they're designed to do that. They're designed to take the fight to the enemy, get into melee, and then break them. They don't have that much staying power. These are cavalry units also, so it does that as well. So these Lancer units, red here, Fupa 899, he's brought a lot of them. He hasn't just brought them. He also has these guys over here. So these are the Dragoons. They're like the medium cavalry, I believe. And he has like a whole stack of them here as well. Yeah, he's got two hussars. These are the light cavalry. These are the scouts, recon guys. And for his skirmishers, which are these smaller little cute square dudes, um, both sides have set amount of skirmishers. But what you can do is that you can buy these dudes, which are the riflemen. Um, I thought this was cool because I'm a big fan of what was it called? The Sean Bean Show. Um, the Sean Bean show. It's a hell of a way. Sharp, that's what it's called. Yeah. Uh, the Napoleonic War TV historical drama show. I really enjoyed that one. I have not watched the last two episodes of movies. I don't know how you call it because the episodes are pretty damn long. I guess you could call them like TV movies, mini TV movies. I don't know. It's very old. Um, yeah, I haven't watched the last two where he goes to India, so I'm not entirely sure like what happens at the end of whatnot and that. But yeah, these are rifle units. They're like skirmishers, but they have longer range, I believe, and they move better. Maybe. Let's check stats. Yeah, they do. Okay, cool. So that's that. And for the rest of the line, you have these guys, the line infantry. Line infantry is just your basic stock unit. And these guys basically are the main characters really. Everything else in an army usually, right, usually is supposed to be in support of the main line. But looking at how Red here, which is this is the reason why I want to talk about Red's army comp first, is that he switched it up. His cavalry is the main character with his army composition here. For artillery, we have 7 units of 6-pounder artillery. This is the medium artillery. I think it's the medium, or is this the lightest one? I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, if we go over to blue, you can see here that in terms of artillery, he's one short in terms of artillery units, but he has these guys, which are the 12-pounder foot artillery. So in terms of artillery, blue here, Samavir, he has a slight advantage. He's got heavier guns, and he has one less battery. But when you have four 12-pounders, yeah, I think he has the advantage in terms of the mass of artillery there. In terms of his cavalry, if you have a look here, he only has 4 lances of his own and 4 light cavalry. And for his heavy cavalry, he's got these dudes here, the dragoons, which I think are like more all-rounded medium cavalry, and then the cuirassiers. Now these are the heavy cavalry, so I think you could classify them as like a shock troop as well. But I'm pretty sure the lancers are much better in their charge, and the cuirassiers are more staying power. At least that's the way I think when I read up the unit stats. So we've got that, but yeah, as we can see, the disparity in cavalry. Yeah, red has a lot. He has a lot of horses, man. Good lord. On the other side of the skirmishers, blue here has not brought any rifles. It's just his mainline skirmishers, but he does have these guys, which are the light infantry divisions. He's got 8 of them, so he's got that for his skirmisher force, the light infantry force. You can see his main line here. I think they're about even, but what has happened here is that blue has brought in these grenadiers. These are the infantry versions of the shock troops. So these are the guys you send in to charge into the enemy. And behind that, we have these dudes, which are the guards. And the guards are basically the tanks. Yeah, these are the only units I think that the Grens have a hard time trying to defeat in melee. At least if the Grens are trying to charge into them. I think the guards have more staying power as well as defense. So that's the army compositions here. Now looking at the map, I can only go off my tabletop experience. We're looking at the victory points here. It's even 3 in each deployment zone and then 3 in the middle. So usually you'll take a look at the points in the middle because these are the ones that are going to be contested, and these are the ones that if you want to win, you're going to have to cap them, hold on to them for just a little bit longer in the event that the match goes on for its full length, and they will basically decide to get. Just looking at it from terrain point of view, we've got a lake, small lake in the middle here, and the entire map is cut in half by this river line. I'd say that red is favored for the center here, just because this forest right here is closer to his deployment zone, and it's basically overlooking the victory point in the center. On the right flank, blue is very much in favor. The forest line is closer to his point of view, and it's overlooking the point on that side. On the left, it is interesting because there's these very small patches of forest and woods here, and they overlook the leftmost victory point. And on the other side, there isn't really that much of a counterpart to that. It's not entirely symmetric for this map. You do have the terrain over here. You have slightly elevated ground here and another small woods. You get artillery up on this. I suppose that can counter any moves that happen into this forest area. And in the center, you also have the same. There's an elevated area right here. I suppose might be able to get a positional advantage and negate some of the advantages of the terrain being in favor of red on those two sides. But one thing we have to understand is that there are a lot of people who take a look at these games like this, and then they will have a lot of emphasis on terrain, and they have this like deterministic mindset that once the terrain's like that, one side's gonna win. That's never true. That's never been true in any game I've ever seen, in any game I've ever played. At the end of the day, it comes down to the players. I think that's like it. From what I know is in chess, there's a school of thought where you're just playing the board state, right? And maybe it's true now because of how computers have basically dominated the last like decade or so of competitive high level chess. But I know back in the old days, there was always like the other counterpart to it, where you're not actually playing just the board state itself. You are at the end of the day playing your opponent. Two schools of thought there. You're just playing the game mechanically, and you can just like read the board state and just go off that, and whoever does that better just wins. Or is the human factor contributing a very big contributing factor that if you don't focus on that, you might very well give up the game. Who knows? I'm of that school of thought. I'm old school. I don't quite buy into geographic determinism or anything like that. So yeah, I've explained the board state, explained the army compositions, explained some of the advantages, but whether or not each player is going to play to their strengths and weaknesses, or if they have something else that they have up their sleeves, we're about to find out. So this right here isn't the actual deployment. I'm pretty sure that once I click the play button, then we'll see the actual deployment. This is just the army composition. So we'll run it for the first like 3 or 5 turns, and then we'll we'll come back to commentary basically. Okay, so here is the deployment right here. So okay, we'll take a look at red. So red has only two massive columns on both flanks of line infantry. Got one here on the right and one here on the left. On both sides, he's divided up his artillery. So we've got a contingent of 3 batteries on the left, contingent of 3 on the right, and he's kept one in the center. He has kept most of his dragoons spread out in his back line, and his lancers, like I said, it's basically the main star of the show for his army composition. They're all in the center. They're all lined up and arrayed. It's got his skirmishers and rifles all spread out quite evenly across the both flanks. On blue side, he's gone a little bit more heavy on the right. So he's got his own column of infantry over here. So he's looking to make some big plays on this side here. He's also stacked up most of his light infantry, and his skirmishers are already making moves off to the right. His center and left are just basically just chilling out here. He's keeping them all in reserves here. So okay, so he's playing the more conservative play style. He's gonna wait for his opponent to make some moves, and then he's gonna counter. This means that if he keeps like this passive, the terrain on the left and the middle is gonna go a little bit more in favor of red. We shall see. We shall see. Okay. Yep. In the center, he's okay. He started mobilizing his center. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I was a little bit right. Red just straight up moved up most of his lances. All of his skirmishers have seized the ground. His skirmishers and his rifles. He seized the ground that I was talking about earlier. He's got this. He's got control of this forest line, of this woods here, and of this forest line on the left here. And he's pushing. Okay, he's not pushing his infantry to help secure this woods. So I'm thinking red actually does intend to contest all 3 points properly. I would have thought that he would have just given up the right side here at least. But no, he's gonna fight across the whole front. Alright, this is gonna be a game, alright. Okay, so since red is heavy cavalry, heavy in his cavalry composition, he's looking for room to maneuver, right? So the left side here, I think, is far more favorable for him, and he has maneuvered. No, he split his cavalry composition in half, basically. But I wouldn't be surprised if he maneuvers around to the left here and try to get some player on this side, because just to me, looks like a much better place to maneuver cavalry and try to get some plays out of that. On the right flank here, you've got to go through this forest, and there is, for those who are new and watching to my on my channel from War of Dots, there is fog of war mechanics. We're just looking at it now because I have it toggled here. If I switch it to there we go. This is great. War of Dots doesn't have this. Um, this is what blue here sees, right, on the board state here. And if we switch it around to the other, oops, okay, yeah, switch around to the other side here. This is what red sees. So you know what? I'm gonna like pause it every like 2 turns or so and just keep switching around for the fog of war. That's cool. I really like this. This is a well-made game. Not gonna lie. Okay, we'll go back to all visible. Okay. So yeah, okay. Blue has kept his skirmishers and the majority of his cavalry. He's just chilling in the back here. I I think that's a smart move because he knows that red has far superior cavalry. There's no point in trying to fight that battle. You're gonna lose if you just straight up, in a hypothetical, just open situation. If he tries to commit his cavalry and his skirmishers to Red's force composition, he's gonna lose. Red is stacked the cavalry and skirmishers, so he's just playing it cool on this side. But this, of course, does mean that, as we've seen here, Red is taking more space on the battlefield. So he gets to set the tempo and seize the initiative. Okay, let's see what he does from this. Right. We've got the artillery setting up on the elevation over here. We have the maneuvers. Okay, yeah, I was a little bit right. He has kept a decent amount of cavalry in reserve on the right flank here, but everybody else is maneuvering out into this open plains field. Now, I don't think it's wise to go for like a hit-on attack here. Even though he has a lot of these shock cavalry forces, I don't think he has enough force concentration here to really break a full line of infantry. I don't think that's gonna quite go the way, if that's what he intends to do. I don't think that's a good idea. His infantry is all stacked up here, and so is his artillery. Trying to attack right now with just pure cavalry, I think that would be ill-advised. On this side here, Red has set up his artillery on this elevation, overlooking the forest over here. He's still moving his massive infantry column down the road. Yeah, it does look like he intends to attack on all 3 fronts. Yep, he has got nothing else left in reserve. The only real reserve is this right here. He's got his dragoons. I keep forgetting all the names of all the different cavalry types. He's got this reserve of dragoons here and a couple of skirmishers. Blue is keeping his lances in the reserve. Yeah, fair point. This guy has brought 5 times the amount. No point sending them in straight away. That would be ill-advised. Oh, hang on, I can switch. Yeah, I forgot to do that. Yeah, okay. So at this point, both players can pretty much see the main deployments. So the game is on. Yeah, if I were Red, I'd rethink what's going on here. I would. Okay. Okay, yeah. It did kind of happen. He made some feints, he made some moves, and then he decided against it. Now he's moving off to the left here. The infantry and artillery is coming up. He's got this group of dragoons all getting stacked up just behind this elevation here. Right. He's got all the deployment of all the infantry. So he's got all his mainline infantry, his artillery, and skirmishers all stacked up in the center here. He's faced off against a bunch of rifles. And on the right flank here, he's decided to keep his line infantry in column mode. I should explain that. So the rectangles, they change shape and they change orientation. So if they're moving this way, right, along their length, and you can see there's like the arrow point that shows the position that they're facing. There we go. It's short firing. That's better. So if a rectangle is like orientated in this kind of formation, this is what's called a column. And a column formation is basically it maneuvers faster across the board. But when it comes to fighting, actually, this is not a entirely true statement. No, when it comes to shooting, I should say, because the formation is arrayed in such a way, you have less firepower and less guns available to fire. If you're set up in this kind of formation here, which is the line formation, where it's like an elongated rectangle and it's facing widthwise, yeah, the arrow is on this side of the rectangle. This is the formation which has, the most amount of firepower available to be deployed against the enemy. There is a third formation which I don't think that we have an example of right now. We have to use the cavalry. If one of the infantry units looks like the cavalry here, where it's a normal ratioed rectangle that's facing sideways, this is the default kind of formation, and it's the mixed balance between the column and the line. The thing about the column as well is why I had to retract my very initial statement is that it has advantages when it comes to melee. You have a much more concentrated force at the front. And if you're trying to go for a frontal assault, column formations are pretty useful. They are quite helpful in that. So yeah, there goes that. So yep, red still intends to come down on the right, and then we have maneuvers on the left. Okay, let's see what red does on the left flank here. I think this is the part which is going to be slightly decisive. We have a defensive pocket being deployed out here against the lancers. And we have all of the guards maneuvering off to the left, trying to counter the cav. Now, suppose he's just trying to set up a wall here, because they can't chase down the cav as that. But the cav is going to have a tough time trying to charge into guards. And he still has his reserves here. We might see some plays on that flank here. All right. Shots fired, and he went for it. Yeah, he went for it against the line. So the thing about the cav versus the infantry, if the infantry is in his line formation, that's the best opportunity to attack the cavalry. Now, best opportunity doesn't mean that it's the the correct thing to do at any one time, and it doesn't guarantee success either. As we can see here, his lances went in, and two of them are already routed. I should probably explain this mechanic. When a unit is grayed out like this, it's called the rout state. And that basically means that it's lost all of its organization and it's now going to retreat away from the battle. It's the most similar mechanic that I can give an example to is that this is the Total War, the morale system in Total War, basically. It's a unit, the unit's still in play, uh, and it has the chance to rally, in which case, if given enough time and enough distance away from enemy units, it will reorg itself and it become a controllable unit again. But the way that this game does the counter route mechanic in Total War, what you can do is that you can just slaughter the dudes. In this game, what you can do is that so long as one of your units is close enough to a routed unit, the route unit can never reorg itself and come back into play. So that's the way that this game has done it. I believe I might be a little bit wrong with that. I've only read over the rule set once, but yeah, I found that quite interesting. I quite like this how they did this mechanic here. Anyways, still maneuvering on the left here. His dragoons are coming in here. Is he gonna attack with the dragoons? You just saw your lances all break on this side here. I don't think that would be advised. Infantry is still deploying across the right here, trying to get across this one lone bridge, get across on the other side of the river. He's gonna have some trouble trying to get through this forest. He's got all skirmishers, and the light infantry hasn't quite been deployed into line or mass formation yet. Okay, so we'll see how that develops. He went for it. In the center, he went for it. Oh, good lord. Okay. So he went for it with the dragoons as well. Didn't quite go according to plan. Blue here countered with his light infantry. So the dragoons are the favorite in this cavalry fight here. But they had to come into fire from these infantry units. So they're already receiving fire from that. They also charged into several of the infantry units. So that might be just enough advantage for the lights. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not too experienced to do the very minor tactical calculations like that, but we shall see. And you can see all of the routed units here on red side. All the cavalry, they're all broken and they're all retreating. That was damn. Yeah, that was a hell of a charge. Okay. So we have all the gods. Yep, he set up a massive wall, line formation. The Lancers, or what's left of them, they're coming around the left flank, and they're running right into Blue's reserve Lancers here. The infantry is still not yet deployed. The artillery has only just got up here. You should have waited just a little bit. I mean, yeah, you've only gone up to about a third of the game. You still had time. And the thing is that you had position over the two victory points on this side. So time was kind of on your side, in my opinion. Yeah. Oh my, on the right flank, he has gone for the assault. So he's gone in column formation. He's just gone straight for the melee, trying to break through into the forest here. The rest of the units here, they've switched to their normal mass formation. I think that's what the term is. I still am not quite familiar with all the terms yet. But this is the balance infantry formation. They're coming out into the open here and contesting the point. Okay. Hmm. His artillery, yeah, his artillery is in range. Okay. I don't think the artillery is really being that useful here. Most of Blue's forces, even though they're all the light and skirmisher variants, they're all in the forest, so that negates his artillery here. This is the 6-pounder artillery. The bigger the caliber of artillery, the more effect they have against units in terrain. So, for example, like these 12-pounders here. If Red had 12-pounders, I think he might be seeing more success on this right flank here. But it's going to come down to the infantry now. See what happens. But the left flank here, that's more interesting to see. Okay, mass cav charge on the left. He's committed everything. Okay, yeah, Red committed everything, and he decisively won. He had like a 2-to-1 advantage in just numbers alone. The rest of Blue's cavalry has also been defeated here in the center. Okay, this might come down. Yeah, this. Hmm. Red has to go across the river now, and Blue has set up his entire line of guards. Blue is now maneuvering all of his heavy artillery. Right. Okay. This is going to be interesting. It's going to come down to whether or not Blue can set it up and set up his artillery in time, get some shots in before this mass of infantry and skirmishers comes in, and whether or not Red can utilize his 6-pounders to thin down the gods here. Like I said in the beginning, the gods are the tanks of this game, and they are pretty much the tanks. If this was just a straight up fight between even this mass amount of infantry, normal line infantry, Blue is very much in favor here. Now, maybe there's enough variables here that Red can manipulate that he might be able to get an advantage enough to break through this wall here. In the center, no, nothing much happened. There weren't enough line infantry forces in the center here to really make any big plays. Everything's all been committed here, and I don't think it's gonna go quite well for Red. He still has not yet committed his cavalry in the back. Okay, we'll see. He can make any plays with that. I doubt it, at least on the right flank. Right. Okay. Blue is still maneuvering his artillery, but he's getting there. Red's cavalry has completely won the flank, and they're now moving in to flank the guard line. Blue is not committing the rest of his own cavalry here. Okay, he might have enough to probably stop Red here, but they're just slightly out of position. Will they get there in time? That is the question. Red has decided to deploy his entire formation in the line. I think this might have been. No, I don't. No, he does need to do this because if he just went in the way he was the raid straight off the bat, they wouldn't have stood a chance against the gods. But time is not on his side. He's gotta make a breakthrough now before Blue can rotate any more forces over to the left. Red's reserve cavalry has been committed, and he's just committed them to the front. I don't think it's gonna quite go go the way he's planning it for that one at least. Blue is realized his advantage in the center, and he's gone in and trying to take the forest in the center. Yeah, right plays there. Very nice. Yeah, it's gonna come. Yeah, fight really is still gonna be determined on the left flank here. Now that is interesting. That is interesting. Red decided not to go in straight away. He decided to wait. I think that might just be game for this breakthrough here. Blue, on the other hand, has decided to go square. So this is another formation I didn't talk about. Square formation is basically the counter to cavalry if you're infantry. But I think because it's a guards unit, when you go into square, it's get even more buffs. I could be wrong about that. But the thing about going to square is that yes, you get a lot of defensive bonuses, but you get a lot of debuffs when you get shot at. And red does have a lot of shooty units. He's got skirmishers, he's got rifles, and he does have these three artillery. Blue's artillery is now all set up now. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna see how this goes out. Okay, the cavalry battle looks like it's about even now. Blue's reserves are on the field now. And I think red has exhausted himself. Yeah, he's got, I think, only three. No, he's got four units in this stack over here. Hmm. Yeah, we're just gonna see what happens. He did it. The madman did it. They got caught up in a prolonged engagement, and Blues fresh heavy cavalry here just won the day. They got slaughtered. Now, yeah, it's not looking good for Red. He was just too slow. He was just a little bit too slow, and he let the rotation happen on Blue's side. On the right flank, yep, it happened. They went out into the open against gun line in terrain, in forest, and yeah, everyone got slaughtered. Yeah, the 6 pounder artillery did not help out that much. He needed more heavier stuff. And even then, I don't think it was a favorite fight for Red on that flank. I really think, going off what I said earlier, he should have just focused on the strengths on the left and the center. Go for that. Let Blue have the right flank because he was heavily favored on this side in terms of terrain and geography. Right. Goes for the charge as well. He's got to make some plays. I don't blame him. If he doesn't get this breakthrough, it's basically Jover. The entire right flank is gone. Nah, it's too late. And the rest of Blue's army is now being rotated into the left here. He's trying to go for the cap. At least he tried to. Nope, didn't work out. Yikes. Oh, that's it. That's the game. So what do we have here? In terms of casualties, 13,000, 15,000. So they kind of traded 1-to-1. Okay. That's not bad. That's not bad. We have the amount of horses and the amount of guns as well. Okay. A lot of stats here. I like this. I like this. Oh yeah. Nice. Oh, okay. So that's the end of that. I quite enjoy casting the game, to be honest. Quite a lot of fun. Um, Obviously, compared to War of Dots, because that's what my channel right now is being heavily focused on. It is not a very accessible game. Lines of Battle. There's a lot of things that go on in the background. Just looking at the stats alone, it may kind of look like at face value a similar game to War of Dots, but it's not. It is a very in-depth tactical war game. Um, yeah, you've got health, organization, stamina. You've got 3 stats instead of the 2 that we have in War of Dots. Uh, yeah, I mean, look at that. You've got all the modifiers and bonuses. These change when units are in terrain or have other modifiers around places. Oh, yeah, this is interesting. I didn't quite know this. You have all the different weapon types that they have available to them. Oh my, that is interesting. Then you have here the base stats: range attack, melee attack, defense, charge bonus, and then the movement, which we covered earlier when trying to compare the cavalry stats and the rifles. So yeah, there's that. I do not know if I'm going to be covering any more of these games. It's not a game that I'm too familiar with, but if you did enjoy this video, then let me know in the comments below, and then maybe I'll do another one. But anyways, if you made it this far, thank you very much for watching.